the fact of the matter is that the white population is not organized whatsoever, and any chance of organization that they get is immediately stamped on by the state, by the secret services, by the intelligence, by the army, by the police, you name it. They'll be onto you like a, full force of the law. Okay. The Islamic population, regardless of all of the slop kind of concerns, are the number one targeted group by the British intelligence services. How do I know that? Yesterday, I did that video on Tony Blair's digital ID stuff. Okay. In amongst all the usual bollocks, most of it was about Islamic terrorism. Like most of it was justified on the back of, look, we need to closely monitor these communities in these places so we know exactly what's happening. So they are already closely monitored, right? More so, arguably, than even the quote unquote far right. I think they keep on throwing in the far right there so they can say, well, it's not just the Islamists we're looking at, we're also looking at the quote unquote far right. Okay. But then, they're still only a portion of the total amount of people we've brought in. So then the next question to ask is, well, how many of the other groups are organized in such a way that they're going to be able to produce sectarian conflict in this town or that town or this town or that town? Because you need a critical mass of people to be able to create sectarian conflict. I'm not talking about like a couple of hundred Albanian gangsters or some, a couple of thousand Kurdish barbers or something. You need a significant group of tightly organized people who are going to be able to stand their ground for a particular cause. And I can't really see what the particular cause of most of these ethnic groups who have been imported is going to be. Fact is, let's face it, most of them here are here to make out like bandits, like actual bandits in the short term, make as much money as possible, exploit the system as much as humanly possible, and when there's nothing less, they'll bugger off. Let's face it, that's what most of them are here for. Especially when it comes to some of these recent groups most of them are clearly gangsters, by the way, clearly gangsters. But even the ones who are not, they're here to make out like bandits. They're not here for like a political purpose or anything like that. They're just here as pure economic opportunism in many, many cases. So I just do not agree with the diagnosis that David Betts has made, because he has not gone into all of these small questions, which they may seem insignificant, but they're actually really significant. If you had gone to any one of those IRA guys, what are you fighting for? They'd have an answer for you, right? Or if you'd gone to the Wat Tyler Rebellion in 1381 and asked any of those guys who were amassed there with him, what are you here for, right? They had an answer. They knew what they were there for. I just don't see the cause of a lot of the ethnic groups. And then when it comes to the majority white population, what I don't see from them is they have a cause. They want to reduce immigration. They want to protect their homelands. Right? We all know the argument of the majority population. What they don't have is on the ground level organization. And I keep on coming back to this because it's really, really important. You're not going to have, nothing is going to happen if all most people are doing is sitting at home watching Netflix and eating Deliveroo, or sitting at home doom scrolling on Twitter and sending out the occasional banger, right? Neither of those two things are political activity in the way that David Betts is talking about. They're not actually going to lead to civil conflict at the end of the day. So let's pretend now somebody decides, right, I'm going to put my phone down. I'm going to become the modern day Wat Tyler. Okay, how quickly do you think the apparatus in this surveillance state that Tony Blair has built, how long do you think it will take them to become aware of that group, to infiltrate it, to send a spy in, to, I mean, it'll happen almost immediately. I'll tell you, right? I don't do none of that stuff whatsoever. And still, there are reports put out by certain communist publications of things they've published where I'm like, how the hell did they know that? I didn't tell anybody about that, and they know somehow. How did that happen then? Lies, by the way, but still, the fact is that they print things. And I'm like, huh. So somebody that I know caught wind of that happening, and they printed that. Oh, interesting. And that wasn't even anything like anywhere near close to what we're talking about here, which would be, serious civil discontent. That was just me talking about, well, maybe we'll make this thing to publish some reports sometimes. That was literally on that kind of innocuous, pathetic level, and yet still they were aware of what was happening. Okay. So I really think that David Betts underestimates the extent to which we do live in a kind of Orwellian state, in a total managerial state. And, the notions of these sorts of things happening that he's talking about, it's like, well, how are you going to make it happen? And even if you do try to make it happen, I mean, how are you going to stop the stomp down that's going to, it's not going to get anywhere. And this is kind of, I mean, I don't have an answer to this, but this is why I've talked about, like, well, most regimes, or like political orders do not collapse through external pressures. They usually collapse of their own volition. And as per Populist Illusion, if you go into James Burnham chapter of that, Burnham talks about, the 6 things that need to happen for a political order to collapse. 5.5 of those 6 things are essentially the elites giving up in some way. Only 0.5 of the 6 points pointed out by Burnham arise due to popular discontent. Okay. And for every example he wants to pull up of the peasants' revolt or the Troubles, I mean, I could pull up, well, what about North Korea? Or what about South Africa? Where's the widespread civil war discontent in South Africa? Or what about there's so many examples of where actually nothing happened. The population just took it. The population did not spontaneously arise, or there was not, there was no Wat Tyler. So, yeah, I'm afraid David Betts is going to have to do a lot more to convince me that this is going to happen. How could David Betts do that if he ever watches this, or Matt Goodwin or any of these guys? What they have to do is they'd have to show, well, what is the actual mechanism that somebody would be able to do this without immediately being stomped on by the feds? Right? Honest question. Which now brings me all the way back to right at the start. Why should you be suspicious of this? Right? Why should you be suspicious of this message being pushed? And the reason to be suspicious of this message being pushed, friends, is that by talking about it more, some young bright spark watching GB News or one of these things may get the idea of becoming the Wat Tyler. In which case, well, he's going to get him and his friends put on lists, and the government's got another honeypot. Now, you think I'm being you may think that I am being paranoid, but I've been around long enough to see group after group after group after group as the next big hope, the next big hope, the next big hope. Oh, it's another honeypot. Oh, it collapsed. Oh, look, oh yeah, and I mean, even there are even examples of things like that happening right now. So when I tell people, don't join anything, don't put your names on any, don't give your name and address to any group, don't trust all of these people who say they're your friends, because these things keep on happening over and over and over again. And I'm not suggesting that David Betts is deliberately doing this as an agent of the state or something like that. He's probably not. I'm just saying that the net effect of it, the actual result of it, will be that.